our Habitat Homebuyer workshop.
Sorry, I just started the recording.
What?
I started the recording.
Okay.
Go ahead, recording.
Thank you for coming. So we have a pretty good turnout here. Thank you. And I see several of you joining from home. I know that this is a big step for a lot of you. There's probably been a lot of debate. Do you want to continue to rent? Do you want to own? I hope by the time you leave tonight, you'll have a little bit more information to base your decision on, both about the Habitat program specifically, but also about what it takes to be a homeowner in general. So let me give you just a quick rundown of how it's going to work tonight. I will talk to you about the Habitat for Humanity homeownership program. How it works and what we currently have available for homeowner applicants. And then I'm going to introduce you to one of our current homeowners who has been through this very same process not that long ago, a year ago?
Yes.
A year ago. And how she worked to become a homeowner. And then we will have someone from Newtown Savings Bank talk to you about the whole mortgage application process, give you some tips on, what you can do now, whether you end up buying a Habitat home, whether you end up buying your own home outside of the Habitat program, tips you can do to get ready now. Okay, so that's going to be the program for tonight. So a lot of you came here maybe, hopefully, curious about the Habitat for Humanity homeownership program. So we will start off with that. I am Diana Arpine. I'm the Executive Director of Housatonic Habitat. Habitat, for those of you who don't know, is an international organization. We have chapters all around the world and in every state in the United States, including 7 in Connecticut. Our Housatonic Habitat chapter covers Western Connecticut. So we go down to New Canaan, Ridgefield, Wilton, up into Danbury, Brookfield, New Milford, and all the way up here to beautiful Washington. This is as far north as we go. So that's our territory. So this is our slogan. We say together we build hope, homes, and community. We are celebrating our 30th anniversary, Housatonic Habitat. It's a very big deal for us. Last year, we were able to work with 6 families in purchasing their forever homes. And that's a record for us. It was a really big year. And we're excited to be continuing onward into 2023 with these 2 beautiful homes in Washington. We have some stick-built homes. We renovate homes. We renovate freestanding homes. We also renovate townhomes and condos. So it all depends on what's available on the market and what we can afford and what we think our homeowners can afford. Right now, what we have available are these 2 homes in Washington, which you may have heard about. I do have flyers here that tell you a little bit about the homes themselves, if you're not familiar with it. And there's program over there. So I will just leave that with you, but if you, at the end of the evening, have questions about these specific homes, I'm happy to help answer them. We're actively looking for homeowners, so I would encourage you to, if you're at all interested in living in Washington, take one of the applications and fill it out and at least get on our email list, okay? I would like to start off by saying there are a lot of misconceptions about Habitat for Humanity. Some people think that we give homes away to people who can't afford to buy their own homes, and that's really not the case. We say we are a helping hand, or no, a hand up, not a handout, okay? So this program is for working families who have a decent income, have a good credit rating, a stable job, and just need a little bit of help in purchasing the first home. Sorry, it's trying to follow my program. The number one thing we hear from people who are interested in purchasing a home is they want stability, especially in this market. Rates, rental properties, the rent keeps going up. Maybe you're worried that your landlord might be selling the property and then you'll have to find a new place to live. So stability is the number one reason that we hear people want to become a homeowner. They want to put down roots in the community. They want to get to know their neighbors. They want their children to grow up in a community where they can make friends and grow and thrive. So there are a lot of real benefits to home ownership. Studies have found not only does it help your children thrive, but parents become more engaged in the communities. They take an active role if they're homeowners, that they know they're going to be there for a while. They take pride in their community and they get involved. So the Habitat program, what is the Habitat program? So I told you already that it's a hand up, not a hand out. What do we offer? So the Habitat program, gives homeowners a few things. So with our program, there's no down payment. We cover the down payment. I know that that's a big stumbling block for a lot of people trying to put a big chunk of money away for that down payment. So Habitat covers that. And then there's a subsidized mortgage. And I know that's a little confusing. So basically, in general, so let's say it's a $300,000 home. Habitat might cover 20 to 30% of that 300,000. So instead of a $300,000 mortgage with the bank, you now have a 210,000 or a 230,000 mortgage with the bank. So your monthly payments will be considerably smaller. Okay, their Habitat has a silent second mortgage, and it's a little confusing, but it's a $300,000 home. You apply with the bank for a $210,000 mortgage. That's what you're making payments on. Habitat mortgage is there, but it's forgiven a little bit each year. After 20 years, it's completely gone. Okay, but you're not making payments on that second mortgage. Okay. Another really, really significant part of the Habitat program is the homebuyer assistance that we offer. We have wonderful volunteers that you'll see here tonight. We have a few that are with us via Zoom who will help you throughout the process. We understand as first-time homebuyers, it can be a little overwhelming and confusing. So we have people who are on our committee, and they're all volunteers, who will help you. So let's say your credit score isn't quite where it needs to be yet, and you don't know what to do about that. We have 2 financial advisors who can help you and guide you and say, tell you, well, refinance this loan or pay off that credit card, or and it might take 6 months, it could take a year before you get to the point where you're ready, but they're available. There's no fee for you. I will follow up, everyone who signed in tonight, I'll follow up with the email after this session and give you email addresses for our 2 volunteer financial advisors, Joe and Tim, who are on the call. And then we also offer, the bank is terrific and they will guide you through the process as well. We use Newtown Savings Bank for all of our mortgages. They are very familiar with first-time home buyers and can guide you throughout as well. Okay. Another really important part of our Habitat program is what we call sweat equity. So all of our homeowners need to have a little skin in the game. Okay, so they are required to put in 250 hours of sweat equity. That could be helping to build their own home, helping to build another Habitat home, or many other ways, like helping in our Danbury V store, which for those of you who don't know, it's a thrift store in Danbury. And I know that Sarah has volunteered there a few times. Sarah is here now doing this workshop. So there's a number of ways you get your sweat equity hours. And then part of that, or another really important part, is the financial education courses. And they are offered online through the bank. And then there's one-on-one mentoring, again, with our financial advisors. Okay. We want you to be successful homeowners. So they're giving you tools and guiding you through the process. What does it take to be a Habitat homeowner? Again, hand up, not a handout. So you do need to qualify for a mortgage with a bank. Okay, so there are some very basic requirements, and they do fluctuate slightly depending on your situation, depending on the cost of the home, etc. But this is just a general guideline. Household income of at least $60,000. You know, we live in an expensive area of the country. You know, these are, even with a Habitat home, it's not a cheap place to live, okay? So it's household income of at least 60,000, a good credit score of 650. Again, that is something that we can help you with if you're not quite there yet. You know, don't give up. Good repayment history and 2+ years at the current job. The bank wants to see that you have a stable job history. It could be the current job, correct me if I'm wrong, or something in the same industry, right? Okay. Now available, I touched on this earlier. We are in the process of building 2 homes in New Preston. I don't know, are any of you from the area? Okay, so it's a gorgeous neighborhood, very rural. It's all very rural up here, isn't it? They are 1,500 square feet. There's 2 bedrooms, plus a den, which could be made into a 3rd bedroom. There's also a unfinished walk-up basement. Yeah, so they're beautiful homes, and they should be ready, hopefully, knock on wood, this summer. If you're here and you're not interested in Washington homes, I would still encourage you to apply, because we are always on the lookout for more properties. Last week we looked at 2 in Danbury, you know, so you just never know what's going to come on the market. So this is what's available now, but that could change tomorrow. Okay. Any questions about the Habitat part of it before we continue? There'll be opportunity at the end of the night too. So I want to introduce you to Sarah. So Sarah purchased her home. Well, I'm going to please tell your own story.
So welcome. Thanks for coming tonight. And my name is Sarah, and I am a homeowner, which is still very surreal, and it's exciting just to talk to everybody every time, because it feels like it was yesterday, and it was a year ago, and on the 26th of February. So time goes by pretty quickly. But Habitat for Humanity was something that was around when I was younger, because my dad used to volunteer for Habitat for Humanity and to repair houses, and he was a project manager, so he would often go back to the homes because a few days of repairs wasn't enough. And so I would always go with him, and it was something that we did together, and it was just a nice memory I had. So my parents were also homeowners, and so I grew up in a pretty stable home environment, and I knew that I wanted to provide that for myself. And I had a daughter very young. So when I was in 11th grade, after completing that, I decided that it would be a great idea to leave school. And I went and got my GED, and I became a certified nurse's aide, and I figured that I would just work my way through that, because I didn't like school. And you know, I ended up pregnant and having a baby by the time I was 18 years old. So life took a pretty different path, and it was very, very, very challenging. I made poor financial decisions out of desperation and, you know, the need of putting food on my table or paying a credit card bill, which really affected my finances. And I used to have a Home Depot credit card, and I had no concept of what a credit card even meant. In my mind, at 18 years old, I was maybe 19 at that time, it was free money. And it's not free money at all. It's money times like 29% of what you actually borrow, what you actually spend. So there's nothing free about it. It costs a lot. And so I had to learn a lot of those hard financial lessons. Once my daughter was a little bit older, I decided that I was going to get like a corporate job, and I would work my way up through there, and that was how I was going to be successful. And I learned quickly that really wasn't going to work, and I needed an education. And I decided to go back to school. So when my daughter started kindergarten, I started college, and we grew up together. So it was really challenging. It was I was working full time. I was a single parent raising a child, and going to school and just trying to manage life. So my needs often were put on the back burner, and I just kept pushing through. And so I made a lot of poor decisions. I got involved in some abusive relationships, and one that took a pretty bad toll on my household and my stability and my credit. So in 2016, that had ended, and I was moving into a new area of my life, but my credit score was a 390. And you can't do anything with a credit score of 390 at all. You can't do anything. So I couldn't even get a terrible credit card, nothing. I couldn't get a car loan, an apartment, nothing. So I really didn't think that I would ever come out of that. I mean, I had no idea how that a score would even go that low. So, I had printed out my credit report, and I started using, Credit Karma, which, the bank will talk about more. There's other, better ways to look at your credit report, but it was a tool for me that helped motivate me to keep like making positive financial decisions. It would tell me, you know, great job, you paid your payment on time, and it would give me like 1 point. And if you didn't pay your payment on time, I learned this in the process. If you didn't pay your payment on time, they gave you negative 25 points. So paying the payment on time is like so important. Even if you can only just pay the minimum payment, having a late payment is like detrimental to your credit. So even though paying the minimum payment, you don't really pay down the card, as long as you just have a plan to get there and make the payments on time is really important. And I learned that. So I started prioritizing my debt and figuring out like what I needed to pay off, what I had to just wait to like clear off. There were some things that looked like that. I had student loans that I had put in default, that I was like, oh, whatever, I don't have the money. It's not important. They're not getting my money back. I need to buy groceries. And they started actually taking money from my paycheck. So if you don't pay your student loans, they will garnish your pay. And I learned that the hard way. And eventually I was able to, by 2017, my credit was like looking a little bit better. And I was able to get a really terrible car loan that I was so grateful for. And a year after paying that car payment on time, my credit was increased by, I don't even know, maybe 50 points, but it was enough for me to get a refinance the car through a credit union that I had an account with. And my car payment went down $100 a month, which was really awesome. And I was able to put that money back into savings. And around in 2021, so like a little more than a year ago, about a year and 8 months, I had applied to Habitat for Humanity. I really didn't think anything of it. A family member of mine saw the flyer and said, oh, you should apply. And so I did. And at the time I had improved my credit. I had been at my job for 2 years. I was able to rent an apartment with my daughter, and I was paying the bills, but I was barely making it. I was living paycheck to paycheck. When we had first moved in there, I didn't even have a car. I was walking to work. It was a really challenging time. But I kept pushing through, and eventually my credit had gone up, and it allowed me to be eligible for this home. Like this never would have happened if I hadn't repaired my credit and took care of my finances. So it's important to be financially responsible. I did learn that lesson. But more importantly, it gave us stability and security in a home that I can afford. I'm saving over $500 a month than what I was paying in rent. And I mean, the rent has gone up drastically since I've moved out. So I'm sure that I don't know where I would be right now if I hadn't gotten this home I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to get upset, but I don't know where I would be if I didn't get this house, because I literally wouldn't be able to pay the rent, even though I have like a good job and I went to college, and it's just impossible, especially when you only have one income in your house. So I'm beyond grateful, and this is part of the reason why I come back and share my stories, because I think it's important for people to know. And you know, although you do your sweat equity hours and you give back, it's pennies compared to what you're getting. And so I continue, and I'll always continue to share my story with other people. So
That's awesome.
I hope that everyone in here gets to live in a beautiful home one day and feel safe and secure in that home, because we all deserve that. So, yes.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks, Sarah. I also wanted to add that, Sarah, you know, you repaired your credit on your own, but now you have been working with one of our financial advisors, and she's putting money into.
Yes, I have
a
401k. I have an HSA account at work for like
nice.
health, which I mean, I couldn't even afford health insurance, you know, even if it was offered at my job, like that extra money that I had to pay, which into the health that I couldn't pay the bills. So I've gone years without access to health insurance. And yeah, so to be able to have money to like put in a savings for an emergency and to, you know, towards my retirement and taking care of my health. And if an emergency happens, I'm not like panicking, because I have, you know, the financial support, and Habitat is great. And, you know, they don't just throw you to the wolves. So, for a year, they'll help you out getting situated. If something, you know, goes wrong, then they'll come in and see what they can do to help take care of it. So that's also a really nice stress reliever, knowing that you have some support. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just, I wanted to let you know, in the chat, somebody asked, how long does it take to receive a reply or an answer on the initial qualification approval process for the housing application?
How long does it take?
The initial? And the initial one?
That's what it says. How long does it take?
Like when they submit an application, how quickly can
So the first step is to submit a very short application online. They can email us and get it, or they can go on the website. We did hand it out to the people who attended tonight, and it's very basic questions. And based on that, we will either say, I'm so sorry that at this time you're not qualified, and maybe give you tips on, you know, try to work on your credit score, or, you know, apply again when your salary is a little higher, whatever. That's very quick, very easy. You'll hear back in a few days. If we write back at that point and say, oh, you know, it looks like, you know, we'd like to take you forward to the next step. And then we give you a longer application to fill in. And that, you know, that's pretty quick. I mean,
Yep.
Yeah, Allison's the one who does that
within
stuff.
a week.
Yeah.
I'd say within a week.
Yeah, you know, but it can be, you know, there's a lot that we look at, and then it goes to the bank and they look at it. So, you know, it's not going to happen in 2 weeks. It could be several.
Sure.
Yeah, several weeks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'll just share my personal time frame from the time that I like applied to the time I moved in was around 8 months.
Okay. Yeah, it also, you know, depends on what we have available, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Lorena?
Great. Well, hi, everyone here and online. My name is Lorena Barreto. I work for Newtown Savings Bank with Laura. We both volunteer with Habitat, and it's a wonderful program. The way that I love to explain it to people in just a very simple way is you're basically getting 20% off of the house. And if you think about it that way, it's amazing, because there is no discounts when you're buying a house. So their program is awesome, and if you can qualify to use it, great. So really, we'll talk very, you know, basic mortgage terms, and I like to make it very conversational. So feel free to stop me at any point in time if you have something, you know, mortgage question related, and I'm happy to address it and we can expand on it. So, a couple of things when you are going to purchase a home that we'll talk about. The first thing is credit. And credit, of course, is important, right? And we talked about, you know, especially with like Sarah's story, or even Diana talked a little bit about how important credit is, and at least getting you to that minimum 650 score is huge. Of course, the better your credit score, the better the interest rate you're gonna get, which in turn, the lower the mortgage payment, right? So the higher you can get your credit, the better. To put yourself in the best position to get the best interest rate, you wanna be at a 740 credit score. And some people, I tend to answer that question a lot because interest rates, there's a couple of things that go into it. And there's tiers as far as the score. So that 740, once you hit that mark, you're in the clear for the best rate. What goes into your credit? A lot of things. Payment history is huge. And the next slide will give a breakdown. Actually, can we go to that? Yeah, thank you. So 35% of your score, the biggest bucket is your history, your payment history. So Sarah making that $25 payment to Home Depot or not, right, in that case, was huge. That affects once you miss one payment, it's a big chunk of your score and it'll affect you immediately. Of course, and I like to tell people this too, that credit is a snapshot in time. So, just maybe if you did miss a payment, unfortunately, your credit's going to go down in that moment. It'll shoot right back up as you start to make positive credit. So you definitely at least want to make your minimum payments on any of your loans. The next biggest category is the amount that you owe, which is huge. And lots of people don't know this as well, but that 30%, it accounts for 30% of your score. And coincidentally, it's also 30% of your revolving line of credit is what you should carry as a balance. What does that mean? If you have a credit card with a limit of $1,000, just simple, right? To make it easy, I should say. A credit card limit of $1,000, you never want to have more than $300 running as a balance at one time. If you're holding a balance of more than $300, it starts to negatively affect you. So something to think about, something that's important, if you're saying, okay, and a quick calculation to do that is you just take what you owe and divide it by your limit. If you see that number is 30%, take your limit, multiply it by 30%, and you'll see whatever it is. Because sometimes I know credit limits are a strange number. Maybe it's 7,500 or whatever it is. So doing that calculation will help you out, and getting it below that 30% helps a ton. And some of these smaller percentages, opening new lines of credit, sometimes will affect your score positively or negatively, right? The length of credit history, a lot of people tend to think that is a big factor, like, oh, you're young, so you don't have much credit. That does play a role, but really you can see it's only 15%. So it's not a big chunk of your credit score. And then another little piece is the credit mix. So having different types of credit, whether it's a credit card versus a car loan versus a mortgage, that having that type of credit mix is good and positively affects you. Moving on. What is a good credit score? You want to be, 650 is the minimum, right? That's fair credit. Good really is 670 and above. Great, 700s, 740 is, I would say, exceptional. But this is a great chart because if you're in the 800s, you're like amazing, incredible, like best credit ever. Not many people are there, I will say. So really, if you're in the 740s or above, you're in the clear to get really the best. Understanding how credit affects you. In this next slide, it's huge because you can see someone on the left-hand side, right, with the credit score of 620, their payment ends up being $500, I'm going to round up, $580, and they have an interest rate of 5.99. Someone with a 740 credit score got an interest rate of 2.99. I'm going to round up and say that's $540 a month as a monthly payment. So on one side, your total cost of the car ends up being $34,791 versus $32,336. So just by having good credit, you save yourself $2,455. It's a nice example. This is, of course, with a car, with a mortgage, same thing. You could save hundreds of thousands of dollars over the life of the loan, a 30-year mortgage. It's huge. How to view your credit. Credit Karma is awesome. I will say, to be able to track the accounts that you have open. I will say there's the algorithms that they use to score you is definitely off. And the reason I always tell people this is that they're not checking your credit every time that you like open the app and look at your score. They're giving you an estimate, because if they were checking your credit every time, that would hurt your score too, right? So they're not pulling an actual report every time that you look at the app, but they are giving you an estimate of what your credit score looks like it might be around. I will say they tend to overestimate. So, you know, when you go to actually do a hard pull, a lot of the times it's going to be lower than your Credit Karma app is telling you, or CreditWise, or really any of the apps that you use. They tend to overestimate. Sometimes it's by 10 points, 20 points, it just depends, but it's meant to give you an idea. So if you see Credit Karma says, oh, you're 760, you may be like 740, 730. The score, the number itself, I would say, doesn't matter too much when you're using the Credit Karma app. I would focus more on using it to track the accounts that you have open, or maybe if something is derogatory on there and it's showing as a negative. If you see that Credit Karma says it's clear, great, then you can know, okay, pretty soon, if not already, it'll be off of your credit report. There is a way to actually pull your credit report for free, and it's with this website, annualcreditreport.com. It is actually completely free. So not like one of these, you know, gimmicks where you have to put in card information and stuff. That's going to be the best way to actually look at your credit history and look at what's on your report. And you can check it once a year for free. So it's a great way to do so. Yeah.
So something like Experian,
Yeah.
or TransUnion that gives you your score, how
Yes.
reliable is that?
Just
Same.
as reliable, yeah, as Credit Karma, kind of. Because again, they're not gonna pull your report every time you're opening the Experian app to look at it. So like, and I will say, Experian Boost, or, you know, TransUnion, I think has something now too, where they're helping people boost their score, which is great. So reporting the stuff on there does actually help, but the score that they give you is off. It's off. And sometimes they underestimate too. It's not like they always overestimate. Sometimes they underestimate. It's just, it's an average.
Can I just interject something?
Yeah.
So this website here, it'll let you pull Experian,
TransUnion and Equifax.
And it's just the report. It doesn't give you, I don't believe it gives you a number at the end, but it shows you everything that's on your reports.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have like old, you're not old enough, but they're like old, like there used to be stores like G Fox or whatever, and people had accounts open in there, and then when the you know, place went under or was liquidated, they were still showing this open thing. So when you go to apply for a mortgage or something, it shows as open lines of credit with a little balance. So it helps you to be able to clean that stuff up.
Yeah.
And it will show if you have any late payments on in the last 2 years, so then you can see when they're gonna fall off. You know, because they only keep a 2-year history, so it's good to pull that once a year.
Definitely. Good. So then next slide, of course, when you do pull your credit report, you know, if you see something that you don't agree with, or you think is erroneous, you can certainly request to remove it. You need to do so in writing typically. So either by mail, or some sort of writing. If you send a formal letter, you can do so. Usually when you get your credit report, they'll have the contact information for the 3 bureaus, and you'll be able to send them something in writing. So it's definitely worth disputing if it is something that you feel you you shouldn't pay or don't have to pay. My favorite part, if we move on, is to see how much you can afford. The income and debt ratio. So credit is one piece for a mortgage application and approval. The next biggest influencing factor for if you can get a Habitat home or any mortgage is the bank letting you know, based on your income and based on your debt, this is how much we will lend you. And I always tell people that it is one of the biggest indicators on approval, because any bank, right, not just Newtown Savings Bank or not just Habitat, they don't want, or I should say, we don't want your mortgage to be too much or too high of a percentage of your income monthly. So we don't want to give you something that you won't be able to pay, right? So from an income perspective, right, if you're making $60,000 a year, let's say, like the minimum required, you're making about $5,000 a month. What does this debt ratio mean of 41%? So 41% of your income plus whatever your monthly debt added together, your new mortgage payment plus your monthly debt has to equal less than 41% of your total income. Let's do some quick math. I'm using different numbers than are on the screen. But if your income is the $5,000 a month, right? 41% of that means a total of the new mortgage payment plus any other debt that you have has to equal less than $2,050 a month. Kind of hard these days, right? Diana talked about Connecticut being expensive. Easily now, mortgage payment could be $2,000, just the mortgage payment, right? So assuming this is your case, then you want to have $0 in debt to be able to get approved for a new mortgage. Hopefully that makes sense. And that this is kind of, for informational purposes for you guys, it's something that I would calculate and let you know, hey, if you're not quite there as far as an income and a debt perspective, I would let you know, let's work on paying off some debt, and then you'll be able to qualify for X amount of dollars based on whatever your income is or your household income. Any questions on that? These are some of the towns that I know Habitat that we cover. So pretty much all of Fairfield County looks like, right? Some Litchfield County, Western Connecticut.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. So like I said, we're constantly looking for more homes. Like
generally the areas that we're focusing on.
Yep.
Great. And on this next slide, really, home ownership can be affordable, especially with Habitat's program. It's really a great program to work with. Aside from the mortgage piece, we really, and especially me, I have the heart of a teacher. So sometimes I can go on and on about, mortgages and helping someone with credit or paying off debt or what to do and what scenario. Essentially, you have a team of people here that actually care about you and want to help you get into a home that's affordable and that works for your family and for your needs. So not only are you, learning about mortgages, but you're learning about personal finance. You're learning about Habitat's down payment assistance program and what that really means. And then I think, Sarah, you talked about the program where for up to a year, you have access to volunteers with Habitat, right, for maintenance and upkeep. So what's an example, like your toilet breaks?
Yes. I think that happened.
Yeah, my toilet did break. I had a crack.
Really?
Yeah.
It did.
And I came across it accidentally, but it was a good accident.
Nice.
Not in an emergency, because I probably would have cried about. If I came home to my toilet in the downstairs.
So in that situation, what happened? You reached out to Habitat?
Yeah, I actually ended up replacing it because I didn't even, they told me, but it didn't cross my mind that that would be something they would do, but then
Yeah.
I told Diana, and she was like, no, we will reimburse you.
Oh,
And
that's
yeah,
awesome.
they reimbursed me for the toilet.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
And luckily I
sometimes
had
it- you
a
know,
friend,
something,
family friend that was a plumber that installed the toilet.
Yeah.
so,
Nice. Okay,
yeah.
well, that's good.
and sometimes it's a minor thing that our volunteers can go in and take care of
Nice.
easily. So yeah, that is part of it.
Awesome. Great. Very good. So this next slide really is just the application link. It's the pre-screen link. So Diana mentioned it's the shorter version. It's very a simple application, and within a few days, either Allison or Carrie, right? Will reach out and let you know if you qualify and what the next steps are really at that point.
So everyone here tonight should have gotten an application, I think, when you came in. Again, even if you don't think you're quite ready or you're not interested in the specific homes we have available, I would encourage you just to fill it in. You'll get into our database and then you'll start to get emails when we do have other things available. So we're going to stick around a little bit. If you have specific questions, either for myself about the Habitat program, you want to talk to Sarah about her journey, or you have questions for some of our banker, financer people, feel free to talk to us one-on-one.
Thanks, Diana, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
In the chat,
I'm not seeing more questions in the chat. I guess, your presentation is here,
Yeah.
right? So if somebody is online.
Yeah.
And wants that information, they should probably just go to the Habitat.
Yeah.
Website?
Yeah, they can email, there's the email on the website and we'll send it to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Very good. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think it's